City Council meeting of July 16 has come to order. Can we please stand up for Pledge of Allegiance? And Quincy Ford, would you please lead us in Pledge of Allegiance?
Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our military men and women and our first responders that got killed in the line of duty. Will you join me now, please? Thank you.
May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista.
Present.
Councilmember King.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia.
Present.
Mayor Samra.
Present.
For the record, Councilmember Aguilar is non-attendance, but his absence is excused.
Closed session announcements. There are no reportable actions. Direction was given to the staff. Council, changes to the agenda or staff?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I would like to table the last item, which is item number 12.
Okay, item number 12 is tabled. Any other changes, Council? If not, then we'll move on to awards, presentations, and proclamations. And I believe Chief Chavez brought some of our fine officers and their bicycles.
Yes, I
Or
did.
bikes, I should say.
If I can have our bike patrol officers bring the bikes up, come up front. So a couple years ago when the price of gas went up, we got a horse. Now they're going up again, and I thought, we have a couple horses, why don't we get some bikes out there too? So
They want to wear shorts, Chief, that's what it is.
actually, if you look at the legs of some of those officers, I think they need a little bit of coloring in them.
Had we known that, can we drop the lights down a little bit? There's too much of a reflection on some of these officers. Is that what it is?
So anyways, I want to introduce our new bicycle patrol officers, and Officer Godfrey was actually out at the 4th of July Festival on Sunday, and Brandon Butler, Gage Johnston, and Robbie Hazelwood. And these officers are going to be responsible for patrolling the city on this bike. Yes, they will be riding around the city on bikes. And I'm going to say this is not the first time we've had this bike patrol detail. It actually about, I want to say probably 18 years ago or so, Captain Soria was actually the sergeant in charge of it back then. And we haven't had a bike patrol unit for that long. And so now we're very fortunate to have Officer Godfrey take on the role of ensuring our officers are safely trained to ride and patrol the city. And if you don't know, it takes quite a while to learn how to trade. I mean, I know it's a bicycle, but to safely patrol a city on bikes, riding around, if you have to chase somebody, if you have to jump off your bike, if you fall, you don't want to get hurt. So there's a lot going into riding these bikes, and it takes at least a week to learn how to ride them. They're all going to be trained. Officer Godfrey went through the train-the-trainer for riding the bike. And so I'm going to turn it over to him and let him talk about some of the benefits and some of the ideas that we have for our city.
As the chief mentioned, my name is Officer Jeff Godfrey. I have attended the Train the Trainer course. I've been a police officer for 20 years, and I have experience in patrolling different communities on bicycle patrol, for that matter. So the benefits to the city of Livingston and the citizens of Livingston with the bike patrol unit are, first and foremost, community outreach. I mean, we will be out in the crowd, within the businesses, within the communities, being able to relate and converse and interact with our community in a more personal way. Secondly, being able to work patrol on a bicycle in groups like this, as far as crime suppression and crime prevention, there's nothing else like it. For us to be out and about in the streets and in the city of Livingston in the dark, being able to sneak around in the cover of darkness, interrupting people who are out to victimize our citizens with burglaries, thefts, things like that. There's nothing better to be able to sneak up on somebody than a silent bicycle. They're looking for cars, they're looking for police officers in cars. Being on a bicycle and being able to sneak up on them using the cover of darkness, going through fields, neighborhoods, things like that, we can sneak up on them and be on top of them before they even know we're there. So being able to do that, I mentioned the community outreach aspect, I mentioned crime prevention, physical fitness aspect of it, I'm not gonna lie, is a great aspect of it as well. So for us to be able to go out and be involved with our community, we're more approachable to young people and to other people in the community. We're more accessible to them. So they will feel, maybe less intimidated to walk up and say hi to us and interact with us. It gives us an opportunity to be able to, break down that barrier, that potential barrier if there is one, and let them know that there is a face and a personality behind the badge that we wear, and they will be less apt to maybe be hesitant or scared to come up and talk to us. So expect to see us around. We're going to be out and about in pairs. We have training at the beginning of August. But after that, as soon as we get out and about, you'll see us around. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to stop us and ask us questions. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Jeff. And I think you talk about fitness. I know Corporal Hazelwood was talking about he gets to have the extra donut. So I think that it is a benefit to making sure they work out. And Mayor, we're looking for our first ride-along. So we've got a helmet for you. If you want to...
No, I'll be more than happy to take one of the bikes, just put those 2 extra wheels in the back.
There you go. So anyways, guys, anybody want to say anything?
Now, I can't see the whole thing, but do they have helmets?
Well, they have helmets, not with them
I
right now.
don't- So they
They wear
rode their bicycles here without helmets.
No, they pushed.
So
They pushed them.
You guys
They pushed them.
pushed them. Okay, just want to make sure.
So, anyways, thank you, and again, we look forward to having these guys patrolling the city, keep us safe. So, yeah, a little demo.
One of the things I failed to mention, I apologize. In order for us to operate a bicycle on the streets, we have to abide by all the rules of the road just like everybody else. So we have to meet the vehicle code specs, and we have to have certain equipment on our bike in order for us to go out and patrol just like anybody else. We will have the same pieces of equipment on this bicycle that we would in a car. In order for us to stop somebody lawfully, we have to be able to meet the guidelines set forth in the vehicle code section. So stopping somebody on a bicycle is no different than stopping somebody in a car. They have to comply and they have to stop just like anybody else. So you'll hear a siren, you'll hear lights and all that kind of stuff too.
So, and I'm not sure if can you get like a water tank with a water hose in case the fire department wants to have a bike unit? Brian, you're a good man.
Chief, you
Yes,
really
sir.
want to get into this thing with fire department again?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We're gonna play the fire department in October, so we'll beat them again then. So
Yeah, only if it doesn't rain, right?
if it doesn't rain.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay, this is item 2. This is a presentation presenting the first cut sheet of Livingston Police trading cards to Mayor Gopal Samara by Chief Ruben Chavez and Officer Jeff Godfrey.
Yeah, come out here, Mayor. So about 30 plus years ago, a very creative department came up with trading cards because baseball trading cards are a big thing to collect and trade. The department came up with the idea of trading cards for police officers. And so, again, something that happened 20 years ago, we did have some trading cards here in Livingston. However, we haven't had those for a while. And again, Officer Godfrey took the lead on this and contacted several vendors and then also looked for a sponsor. And our mayor thought this was a good idea and wanted to help support it. And so we did, in fact, have our first batch of trading cards with, I think, how many is it, 12? 12 of our employees on it. And it was voluntary for them to participate. I participated in several other ones. So we'd like to have Officer Godfrey present our mayor with the very first cut sheet, which means cut sheet means it's the sheet of the training cards before they actually wore, dispensed and cut. And so we do have the training cards available now, but this is the first cut sheet that we'd like to present the mayor.
Now, you guys know who they are. Oh, I'm sorry. So if you get stopped or they're just out, get a card and get it autographed. It'll probably worth more later, so.
And thank you again for your support on that, Mayor. Appreciate that.
We're gonna hang it in City Hall so everybody can see it. It'll be in the lobby there. Okay, moving on to announcements and reports. Supervisor, I don't see Supervisor Espinoza, so we'll go ahead and move on to staff announcements and reports, and we'll start out with, he's already got it queued up. Chief, you have anything to do, please?
There you go. All right, well, again, Ruben Chavez, Chief of Police, Mayor, Council, just a real quick presentation. Let me see if this is going to work here. Oh, yeah, it does. So last month, as you may be aware, our department's very big on Special Olympics. In the Northern California Special Olympics, the torch run came through our town, and we had a great group of folks supporting that event and running, including some folks from Public Works and our city manager also participating in that run. But the torch gets carried. There's two segments. There's Northern California and Southern California. Northern California, the torch gets carried through all the counties, all the cities, and basically ends up in Davis. And there, all the special athletes come in almost like it's the Olympics. They come in as a group from each county, parading in their different sports, and all the officers line up to give. They call it the Wall of Honor, and encourage each athlete, because they're going to participate on the Saturday and Sunday. This was on a Friday. And so we do our best to encourage them. So we had 3 of our officers, Corporal Kirk, Corporal Dane Villarreal, and then Officer Godfrey and myself went up there to help support that event. And it was just a great event to have all the athletes come through. If I could show you a couple of photos from different counties. The picture on the lower right, that's Mark, and he's from Merced County. Merced County, I think, had a very small group of athletes, maybe 6, but some of the counties have up to 75 and 100. And so each comes with their banner, and it's a great time to support them in what they do. Let's see if I get this. Monica might need a little click on that. It's not. So this is the torch this is the final destination as it arrives, and the torch bearers in the front are Natalie Corona's parents. Natalie Corona was the officer who got killed at Davis Police Department. She was actually a big supporter of Special Olympics when she was an officer, and so they're actually the ones that are in the front carrying the torch, all the athletes and then the spectators. So it was a very moving event to have the parents of this officer who's killed line of duty ultimately bring the torch in and light the torch. Next one. And the next day, Saturday and Sunday, they have the actual Olympics and different sports. They have any sport you can think of, field events, basketball, soccer, any sport you can think of. They participate and have different teams. And here you have the corporals, both corporals, Kirk and Villarreal, handing out the medals. And it's an honor to hand a medal to an athlete, and they really do appreciate that. Thanks. As you may be aware, July 4th, there was a big emphasis from the County Office of Emergency Services. Jeremy Ron, Division Chief Jeremy Ron, gathered all the chiefs, fire chiefs, police chiefs together. We did a press conference at the EOC, talked about the dangers of those fireworks that are not safe and sane. And some of the ones on our table that we presented were actually the ones that have been confiscated by CAL FIRE this year. And some of the things that they do a lot of things to try to prevent it on the front end, but one of the things that we want to do on our side is to try to prevent injuries and fires on our neighborhood level. So we had a press conference there, and again, these are some of the things that were confiscated. The next one. And we had an after-action report. Captain Story put together a little program, a little proactive program, sent 2 officers out, unmarked cars patrolling the city looking for illegal fireworks. The 1 week period leading up to 4th of July and past 4th of July, we had 54 calls of service involving illegal fireworks. Over the week, we confiscated 32 pounds of illegal fireworks. 8 calls of service involving fires likely attributed to fireworks. The officers initiated 7 citations for possession of illegal fireworks. All were adult males, ages fairly young, 18, 19, 20, 23, 26, 27, 44. Ethnicities, 4 Latino, 3 Indian, 6 were from Livingston, 1 was from Atwater. One of the next steps we talked about, and I'm meeting with Senator Caballero next week, talk about some legislation that I've got some creative ideas to try to see what we can do impact the illegal fireworks coming into California from other states and other countries. There's some things that we're working on with that. And I think it really, if you kind of defeat it at the front end and prevent them from coming in, I think it's a win-win. So, and
One aspect about that as well, Chief, that you might want to add is our community forums and continuing to educate the public related, continuous, ongoing effort to educate the community about illegal fireworks. If you
yes,
want to touch on that.
absolutely. Next page. And lastly, our Explorer detail this last weekend, they spent the weekend at the bike races in Laguna Seca. They were very sorely needed. Normally they have about 75 Explorers out there, and they were quite short. So our Explorers worked very, very hard out there, and so in the end, the Laguna Seca will write a support check donating it to the Explorers Post through the foundation, and they're able to purchase more equipment. They actually just purchased a trailer, which they use now. We had a small trailer. They purchased a bigger one they use for details. So anyways, I want to thank again Officers Valdivia and Vieira for their support in that and taking the kids out there and making sure that they're safe, but ensure they drink lots of water and they do have a good time. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Fire Department?
Good evening, Council, Mayor, members of the public. This is the July report for the fire department. So in June, we ran 90 medical aids, and this is in the city of Livingston.
Before you begin, can I get everybody to put your phone on silent mode or turn it off for me, please? Thank you very much.
All right, so in the city of Livingston, we ran 90 medical aids, 1 code blue. We had 2 vegetation fires, 3 vehicle accidents, 1 vehicle fire, 1 debris fire, 4 alarm soundings. In the county, we had 35 medical aids, 3 code blues. We had 18 vegetation fires, 11 vehicle accidents, 3 vehicle fires, 8 structure fires, 2 debris fires, 4 alarm soundings, and 2 public assist. So year to date, we've had 887 calls. Of those calls, 529 were in the city and 358 were in the county. 70% of our calls are within our initial, our PCS responded 70% of our calls, and 83% are within our initial response area. And year to date, we are up 3.5% on call volume. For training, paid staff, we did some wildland urban interface skills, and the volunteers did some wildland skills and hose lays, and they started training also on the Type 6. We did our dedication. We had, the mayor was kind enough to be there, and so was Juan Aguilar. And so we did it Saturday. It was a good dedication to the fire station. Also, we participated in with the public safety town hall meeting. Sorry, the remote's not working too well. All right, our fire prevention safety is because, as you know, Southern California has been having a lot of earthquakes lately. So we just like to remind everybody, if you are in an earthquake, don't panic. If you can, duck, cover, find a doorway. And also just always having a place a place for assembly. So if you have some kids or something that got scared, no place where they can meet, like outside of the house, at the park, by the tree. And that is the end of our fire department report. Any questions?
Whose phone is that, or what is that device? Mr. Torres? Mr. Torres? Your phone keeps ringing. Could you please put on silent? Please. Your phone keeps ringing. Okay. Engineering, any presentations? Please come forward. I see a tag team going on there.
That's right. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and the public. Mario Govea, city engineer. Can you go to the beginning, please? We'll be giving you a brief update on the roundabout at Main and B, and also on the Winton Parkway on-ramp widening. We'll get the PowerPoint here. There we go. Thank you. So we can go to.
Hey, Mario.
I'm trying to get it to the next one. Maybe Monica can do that. Thank you. I think we skipped a few there. Noah, where's Noah? Can you try and help that? Right. Thank you. So this morning, Public Works set up the A mock roundabout at B and Main Street. Businesses that were affected by the closure of that area were informed with a letter dated the 8th, I believe. So everyone affected was notified. I don't know if you want to add anything, Anthony, to that.
No, just as Mario said, we did notify all the businesses with a letter, hand-delivered letter to all the affected businesses in the area, just to give them plenty of advance warning. We did talk to MCAG on the bus route as well, for that closure period.
So as you can see, there's a small roundabout here, and that circle is actually smaller than the actual one, the permanent one, because when the construction is done, the corners here, the curb returns will be removed and pushed back. So the actual center island will be larger than what you see there, but the city wanted to do this mock so folks can get used to what it looks like and drive around. And we've driven, and for vehicles the size of the ones we're driving, at least it drove fine. I believe that the city wants to wait until the construction of the actual roundabout, which is probably a couple of weeks away, maybe a little longer. So whenever the city decides to take it out, that's up to you.
Yeah, as Mario said, we're anticipating to have the mock roundabout active for approximately 2 weeks. The end of the 2 weeks, which we should transition into actual construction of the roundabout.
We'll be having a pre-construction conference this Thursday, so we'll know more about scheduling and things of that sort.
So a question for whoever. Those are supposed to be the ones you can drive over, but right now, if somebody drives over, they can drive over the cones. So how's that gonna work out?
Yeah, they'll
Especially the fire truck.
well, we made them smaller than it should be, so they will be able to run over that and cheat a little bit, and where the bus did go through there, we weren't there, but the 35, 40 foot MCAG bus did go through there and did make that turn. They didn't make the whole U-turn, but they did make a turn.
Yeah, maybe we can get the fire department to drive their equipment around it.
So this is the actual design of the permanent roundabout. You see the center circle is a lot larger than the one that the city has for the mock roundabout. The configuration is approximately the same. I was referring earlier to the fact that these corners will be, I'll call it shaved back, so they'll be pushed back to allow for easier circulation. The roundabout has 3 raised islands here, approach islands, with crosswalks with a safety area here for pedestrians inside those islands. And here there's a section of what the roundabout will be. And the edge here will be a drive-over curb, so you can see a section of it here. So larger vehicles, even though Main Street is not a truck route, if there's trucks that go through there, they'll be able to go on top of the apron here, the one with the chevrons, and negotiate those turns. So that's basically what the roundabout will look like. There's a little section here of the splitter islands, and they will be also raised. They'll have decorative concrete and those stamped concrete.
Monica?
Yeah, I got a quick question. Can you go back to that?
Sure, if Monica can get it back.
The B Street Island, is that also gonna be shaved? Or that's gonna be like a sidewalk?
You talk, which one are
The
you
pink
talking
one, the
about?
pink thing right there.
That one here?
Yes.
Yes, that's going to be, see, it's shaved
No,
here.
that I'm talking about in the middle of the street. The center.
This one here?
Yes.
That's raised, yes. The red ones are raised?
Because if a truck tries to turn right, it's gonna go over the curb. Yeah,
The sides are, they're not vertical, they're about 45-degree curbs. See the ones here? They're not the 6-inch vertical curb, so you can clip those a little bit. They're not the really soft ones like this, but they're, it's a Caltrans type, I forget the exact name for it. But going here, around here, you should be able to have a truck negotiate that without clipping them.
Okay. Anything else? Okay.
And I can answer any questions on the roundabout before we move on to
What you can do,
Winton Parkway, if you'd like.
yeah,
If,
Mario, what you can do
if
for
public has comments or suggestions or whatever, who do they report this to?
Basically, they can contact City Hall and they can ask for me directly. And they're more than welcome to do that. Mario, if you can touch on all the different standards that we had to meet in order to
For the
facilitate.
For the design?
Yeah, for the design, if you can go over that.
Of the
please.
roundabout, yeah. It's designed under ITE, which is Institute of Transportation Engineers, MUTCD, and Caltrans standards, so it meets the standards for that sort of location.
Okay.
There's a question.
Just let them finish up the presentation, and then I will allow court public comment, okay?
So we'll switch to Winton Parkway, and I know I've presented something similar to this. This is a little more detailed, but it's basically taking the bottleneck that we have here, constructing some more sidewalk here so that you have a pedestrian crossing. And then there will be a retaining wall along here, which a section of it looks kind of like this. There's a big footing buried here. We do have plans, I've had plans into Caltrans for about a month now, so it's under review, so we're waiting for comments from them. They've kind of threw a couple of comments to us already, so we're working on those, but we don't have an official review yet.
Okay.
And those are the actual part of the plans that went to Caltrans, so there's not a whole lot to see here, but it just shows the locations. So I'll be glad to answer questions on either of the projects.
Okay, hold on, please, not yet, okay? When it's time for public comment, I will open it up for public comment, okay? So, please. So, on this item, for the Winton Parkway expansion, any chance of them, us talking to them about fast tracking this thing? I know it's Caltrans, and they never really.
That's a heck of a.
When they say fast track, I mean.
Very, very good
Can they
question.
meet the city standards?
We do get some folks that say, yeah, you can fast track it, and then it gets to them, and it's a little bit of a different story. So I know the city managers tried to prod a little bit on this, and so it is fast tracked for Caltrans, whatever that means. So we're we're trying. Yes.
Thank you. As I promised, I will allow public comment, but you do need to come forward and state your name and address for the record so we know who we talked. So please come forward and ask your question or questions. You can go ahead and line up too if you like, please. Anybody else that wants to do it, go ahead.
Sandra Moreno, I live in Newcastle Apartments, first time being here. Just question, what purpose does that circle thing serve opposed to the four-corner stop that was there?
Okay. Have any other questions?
No.
Okay, Mario?
That's a really good question. This project was funded with what's called congestion mitigation and air quality grant, and it's federally funded. So the purpose of that is to reduce emissions. So when the car stops and takes off, it produces more emissions than if it keeps going. So overall, there will be fewer emissions.
So let me.
And also, cars won't have to stop. Most of the time, they don't have to stop.
And then when you have another one right down, you have a four-corner stop, you have another one down. That, to me, I'm sorry, to me, it doesn't make sense. We have.
Please get to the mic so we can get you recorded.
We have other places that can use that money. We need speed bumps over by Newcastle Apartments. Oh my gosh, these kids, you see the skid marks. Why, that to me seems more important than that turnabout.
Okay.
I mean, if you see how many kids that are speeding through there and the donuts they go through, their new housing areas, it's insane.
Okay, I'm gonna have the city manager respond.
Yes. First of all, let me just thank you for your civic participation and making your needs known to the city. So let me just take a quick moment to give you a little bit of history related to this project. We were successful in getting about a $300,000 donation from the Northern California New Urbanist chapter. And so there was this was back in 2012, and there was about 35 professionals who donated their time for about a week. And we had representation from all the different sectors. We had realtors, we had transportation planners, we had architects, we had engineers, et cetera, et cetera. And they participated in a charrette. And so we covered a number of different segments of the community and different topics. One of those actually was related to transportation and how to make our downtown more vibrant, how can we reduce emissions, et cetera, et cetera. That then positioned us to be able to go after a grant, and which is the congestion mitigation grant that he mentioned, short for CMAQ. That grant is specific to that need. We can't even move the money to another location to even put another roundabout somewhere else. So it's project specific to that area. So that addresses your question related to that. Our community, yes, there's definitely bringing to your attention that there's needs for speed bumps, that there's probably potholes in other areas. Well, your public servant here was very instrumental in pushing for Measure V, even when I was not involved or not employed by the city of Livingston. And that Measure V actually is a sales tax that we as residents impose on ourselves to address, the very issues that you're bringing up. So the city of Livingston has been very strategic, and I thank the staff and the council, because we actually have the highest rating in Merced County as it relates to our roads. But does it mean that there's not needs? Yes, there is. As a matter of fact, we advocated just recently to use funding that was destined for something else to where we felt that there was a bigger need, which was to pave our alleys. So there's a bunch of alleys in town that don't have, they're not paved. So we have money designated for that. As it relates to your needs of the speed bumps, I'm more than happy to sit down with you and we can look at that, because my experience in the past, and I've been doing this line of work for about 20 years, a lot of people ask for speed bumps, and after they get the speed bumps, they're like, can you take out the speed bumps? So we can look at different calming measures and other opportunities, and I look forward to working with you directly.
Judith Alvarado, and I live at the McConnell Boy Scout Camp, which is outside the city limits. However, I'm interested in what you're doing with the on-ramps at Winton Parkway, because it affects my people that come to my camp. And the biggest complaint is all the stop signs. And I was wondering, I thought maybe when you guys started talking about doing some stuff to that maybe that would be addressed as well, but it doesn't look like that's what you're addressing out at the Winton Parkway.
Thank you for your question. Winton Parkway, when an intersection actually is designed, we would like to have all the funding available to put the final intersection to its ultimate design. That doesn't really happen. And so when that intersection over there was actually addressed many years ago, there was kind of like we call a pork chop. So it was two lanes that basically became one, and if you wanted to make a right turn to go southbound, you just had to wait for the vehicle in front of you to move on. So as time goes on, there's been a lot of congestion over there, and circulation has been a problem. So we as staff and council looked for ways to address that problem. So we put in for money, and we put in some of our own local funds, and we've come up with enough money, and we're talking over $1 million, to actually come up with a permanent solution, because there was a temporary solution. But we didn't want to interrupt the businesses in the area and people coming in twice. So we basically were very aggressive, got the necessary funding. And so now what has been submitted to Caltrans is for a permanent solution. So that means that there's going to be a retaining wall because as you see, there's an actual, and one of the reasons why it's costs a little bit more is that there's actually a vault that's down below that that's in the Caltrans right away that we have to, in essence, protect and move some aspects of that. So there's going to be a fill. And so what we're doing at this moment in time is making sure that we give all of the businesses advance notice of what's going to happen, trying to see if we want to do it, if we can do it during the day or if we do it at night, to try to minimize the direct impact that it's going to have to the businesses. But sooner or later, it's going to happen, especially because some of those quadrants that are over there are actually deteriorating, and so they're going to need to be fixed. So we're looking at doing it in phases, and I thank you again for your comments.
Okay, the reason I was concerned is I hadn't been living back in here in Livingston. I used to live here as a child, and I hadn't been back in this area for a good 30, 40 years. And when I moved out back into the area and lived out at the McConnell camp, I wasn't here more than a month, and and this granted was on the Hammett one, but I came up, I had to make a left-hand turn, stopped, had my signal on, and the other car was still rolling. I made a left-hand turn. He didn't even, barely stopped and crashed into me. And I just was concerned because it doesn't seem like the stop signs are necessarily working. So I don't know if that happens out at Winton or not, but I know sometimes it's really quite a problem.
Well, thank you for bringing those to our attention, and we value your input because we do traffic analysis studies, and there's times when there are modifications performed. So thank you very much.
Anybody else? If not, please continue. If you're done, then Public Works.
I think we're pretty much done. I don't know if, Anthony, you want to mention anything else?
Thank you, gentlemen. And then one last comment related to Winton Parkway. As you know, it was very recent that we approved a 9-lot subdivision in that neck of the woods. So you will also see Joseph Gallo Drive punched into Robin, and so the circulation will change, and so all that's going to help out as well.
Recreation? Mr. Grant, Finance, anything? Okay, then Mr. Ramirez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council and Public. There are a few things that I want to touch on this evening. The first item is just kind of remind Council about the League of California Cities conference is coming up. I believe it's in October. If you are interested, so that we can get the best rates and save some funds, if you can let Monica, my executive secretary, know so that we can book your hotel and your registration. So she'll make sure to give you some more additional information related to that. Next item that I want to mention is we have a meeting tomorrow. It's a tax sharing agreement with the county at 1:30. Councilmember Aguilar and Mayor and I will be meeting with them. This is an ongoing negotiated item with the county, and we hope to break through with that, because it's a very important item. And why is it important? Well, it impacts us on all fronts. One, if there's property owners that want to annex into the city, we cannot do any annexations unless we have a tax sharing agreement. It also impacts us in sales tax and property tax. So we'll be having a meeting tomorrow on that. Next item that I have is I'm working with Rolling F Credit Union, trying to bring in additional financial services into the city for residents. So they're very interested, and they're looking at building a facility. More than likely, it's going to be in the Winton Park area. So looking forward to welcoming Rolling F Credit Union into town. And I also wanted to share, as it relates to, you saw our officers in here, you saw the chief talk about that. We take a comprehensive approach here to public safety, and we look at all aspects of the community. We want to be able to be accessible, and so as part of the going out to the community, whether it's be on bikes, whether it be on a horseback, whether it is we have our festivities, we want to be accessible to the public. So any comments that you might have in any of the items that we have, we welcome you. So thank you, council, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Going on to, first of all, any questions of Mr. Ramirez? If not, Councilwoman Batista, your comments? Mr. Kane? Mayor Pro Tem?
Comments?
Yeah, I called you.
First of all, I'd just like to apologize. I wasn't here at our last council, and the reason was I had to attend a conference, and I'll be updating the city manager with some information and some grants that we should apply for, and hopefully they accept it. So that's it.
Thank you. And for me, I don't have any announcements or reports at this time. And we'll move on to public hearings. This is item number 3. This is continued from the previous meeting. This is proceedings under the Landscape and Lighting Act of 1972. And
We have Susana Medina here
yeah,
from
yeah,
Wildem.
Yeah, so Wildem, would like to make a presentation, please?
Yes.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. My name is Susana Medina Hernandez. I am a representative of Wildan, and I am familiar with the engineer's report and the assessment levy of the city's landscaping and lighting district number 1. I am here today to assist the staff in presenting the actions to be taken by the council on today's agenda item under item number 3.
And Susana, just as a point of reference, we do have 3 new council members, so it might be very helpful if we kind of, before we go into the nitty-gritty, if we kind of took a step back and kind of mentioned in just general overviews the necessity for these and how these work, and they might even have other questions.
Okay. This first slide shows the various zones within the landscaping and lighting district. The city previously formed the landscaping and lighting district along with the methodology of applying the assessments to the properties within the district. There are 26 zones of benefit consisting of residential and commercial properties.
Can you hit next, please?
The levy and collection of these annual assessments is for the maintenance of various lighting, landscaping, and park improvements within the zones. In addition, there's 3 zones that provide for street lighting improvements. Now, staff has worked with Wildan Financial Services to assist in the preparation of the annual engineer's report. The details of how the projects are assigned into benefit zones and the rates for each benefit zone are included in the engineer's report. The total proposed assessment for the fiscal year 1920 is $693,155. On June 4th, 2019, the City Council adopted resolutions initiating the proceedings, declaring the intent to levy, preliminarily approving the engineer's report, and setting the date and time of the public hearing for June 18th. On June 18th, a public hearing was held and then continued to today, July 16th. This action requests the City Council to open the public hearing to receive testimony. There's 1 resolution before council this evening to approve the levy and collection of the assessments. Upon conclusion of the public hearing, city staff recommends that the council adopt a resolution approving the engineer's report and setting the annual levy of assessments for fiscal year 1920. And landscaping and lighting districts, the legislation for that was passed in 1972. It was passed to give agencies the ability to fund special improvements such as landscaping, lighting, graffiti removal, street lights. Due to new developments, the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 is used mainly by cities to fund these improvements, and the amount of the assessment is based on cost. There's budgets that are approved, and we'll then work with city staff to formulate those budgets for each of the benefit zones in the district. And depending on the number of parcels in each of the zones, the total budget for each zone is divided into the number of parcels within the zone to come up with the rate for the fiscal year. There are CPI provisions for 14 of the zones that was previously approved by a balloted vote. The rest of the zones are fixed rates that can't increase without a Prop 218 measure. If the city is developing a new area and the developer wishes to put in new infrastructure that will benefit the parcels that are being developed, the 1972 Act provides cities with that funding mechanism in the way of putting it on the property tax bill in order to improve the area. There's annexations that have been done in the past, and that's why there's so many zones. And as the city of Livingston continues to develop, we anticipate that there's going to be more that are going to be annexed into the landscaping and lighting districts to pay for these types of improvements. So at this point, we could, I could answer any questions, or we could open the public hearing for public testimony.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions? This is a public hearing, so this item is now open to the public for any comments. Does anybody wish to come forward? If I don't see anybody coming forward, this item is now closed to the public. Okay, so the question is, if this doesn't get passed, what happens to those districts?
You could let the landscaping die. You could shut off the lights. I'm just kidding. But basically, the city could absorb those costs through the general fund, which basically you don't have that in your budget. Basically, we wouldn't be able to put it on the property tax roll for the fiscal year 1920. The levy is due to the county tax collector, I believe, August 10th. And this is the public hearing that considers the adoption of the resolution approving the levy of the assessments.
Okay, thank you. Council, any further discussion? Okay, I will entertain a motion at this time. Does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Batista. Do I have a second? I will second that motion. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
Thank you. Going on to item number 4. This is a continued proceeding under the Benefit Assessment Act of 1982, Government Code Section 547003. And go ahead, please.
This is a similar proceeding, but it's a different type of district. This one was formed in 1982. In my opinion, I think they missed some of the improvements that could have been covered under the Landscaping and Lighting District. So they put in legislation for this type of district. The types of improvements that can be funded are drainage improvements, pipes, anything that has to do with the runoff of water into the city's sewer lines. And there are 18 districts of benefit, and they are all residential. The boundaries of the district are citywide. So again, any new development that would benefit from these types of improvements, where the developer wants to fund those improvements through the Benefit Assessment Act, could work in agreement with the city to create this type of district. It would also require a Prop 218 ballot from the property owner in order to pass. Staff worked with Wildan to develop the engineer's report. The details of how the parcels are assigned into benefit districts and the rates are included in the report. And the total assessment for fiscal year 1920 is around $177,000. On June 4th, 2019, the City Council adopted resolutions initiating the proceedings, declaring the intent to levy, and preliminary approving the engineer's report, and setting the time and date of the public hearing for June 18th. On June 18th, the public hearing was held and then continued to today, June 16th. At this time, we are requesting City Council to open the public hearing to receive public testimony. I am here to answer any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so this item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to come forward? Not very exciting for anybody, I guess, huh? But, okay, I don't see anybody moving forward. The item is now closed to the public. Council, any discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Batista. Do I have a second? I will second that motion. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
Thank you. Moving on to citizens' comment. This section of the agenda allows a member of the public to address the city council on an item not otherwise on the agenda. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern and identify themselves. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes in accordance with the state open meeting law. No action will be taken by the city council this evening. For items which are on the agenda this evening, members of the public will be provided an opportunity to address the city council as each item is brought up for discussion. So citizens' comments, folks? Seeing nobody moving forward, we will now close the citizens' comment, moving on to consent item agenda. Items on the consent calendar are considered routine and non-controversial and will be enacted by one vote unless a separate action is requested by the city manager or city council member. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council or city manager requests a specific item be removed. Item number 5, this is the approval of the minutes of the meeting held on July 2nd. Approval of the minutes. Number 6, approval of the minutes, meeting held June 18th. Approval of the warrant register dated July 10. So council, any discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilwoman Batista. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
Okay, this is item number 8. This is a discussion of potential action items. Number 8, a resolution of the City Council, City of Livingston, to name the soccer field at the Max Sports Complex to the Odi Ortiz Memorial Soccer Field.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. Ruben Chavez, Police Chief. And I brought it up at the last council meeting, but I'll just kind of summarize where this came about. Odi Ortiz became our finance director / assistant city manager in 2011, and he was there when I was hired. And he worked diligently for the city of Livingston, not only as a finance director, assistant city manager, but also he became the acting Public Works Director, and also the acting city manager. And he wore many hats. He served this city diligently over those years, dedicated himself to our community. Big sports fan, supported the soccer teams around here. And last council meeting, we actually had about, I think, 50 kids that were soccer players also here to support the proposal. Unfortunately, Odie developed an illness, fought that illness gallantly for a year. In fact, he wanted to come back to help continue his work here in the city of Livingston. Unfortunately, that ultimately took his life, and he passed away from that illness. And I thought very fitting the fact that he dedicated himself for 8 years to the city, the fact he supported youth soccer, the fact that he was an avid soccer player, that we name the field, the soccer field at the sports complex in his name, Odie Ortiz Memorial Soccer Fields. I think it'd be an honor to recognize his work here as well as his family. During the services, I had a chance to meet his wife and his 3 children, and I think they would be ecstatic to know that his father made such an impact in our community by this gesture, this small gesture of naming a field after him.
Thank you. This item is open to the public. Does anybody wish to make a comment? Seeing nobody come forward, the item is now closed to public council discussion. First of all, I like to, I think because we have 3 new members and none of them probably had the opportunity to work with Mr. Ortiz, with Odie. He stepped up for the city when we really, really needed him. He did the job of the city manager. He did the job of the public works director and the finance director at the same time. This is how much devoted this guy was. Even though he was sick, fighting cancer, he would still show up for work. To somebody that's fighting cancer, going through all this stuff that he's going through, and showing up at work, he could have just simply said, you know what, I can't take it anymore. We're out from chemotherapy and all that. He wasn't obligated to come in, but he did. And he would be here for many, many hours, not just 8 to 5, but beyond that, and even then he found time. So the least I think the city can do, we're not naming the entire sports complex after him, just a field. All he's going to have is a little plaque there and says, dedicated to Mr. Ortiz, thank you for doing that. I understand he didn't live here, but we can at least acknowledge the sacrifices he made for the city beyond his own health. So with that, I would really, really encourage the council to please consider naming that field after Mr. Ortiz. Any further comments, council? Okay, does anybody wish to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion with the resolution of the City Council of City of Livingston to name the soccer field at the Max Foster Sports Complex the Odie Ortiz Memorial Soccer Field.
I have a motion by Councilmember Batista. Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
A second by Councilmember Kang. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll coordinate with our city manager on a date and a design and a time, and we'll do something similar we did for the other park, Benito Aguilar Park, where we do a little presentation and sure his family's invited.
Yeah, and in closing, I just want to thank the council. This was personally important for me. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 4. This is ordinance amending the Livingston Municipal Code Chapter 2-4, Parks and Recreation and Arts Commission, Section 242, to increase the commissioners' terms from 2 to 4 years. Man, this thing fell apart. So much in there, it just fell apart.
Good evening, everyone. I am bringing this back actually at council's request. We had discussion regarding this issue back in May. Right now, our rec commissioners have a 2-year term, and actually over half of them are up. And they were up in June. So we're hoping that we can pass this ordinance, and these folks have been very active. They've done a lot of fundraising. They help us get Little Guys put together. They put the shade structure up over there. They have been working on different fundraisers and participating in community outreach. So what we are asking is that we would extend their term from 2 years to 4 years, and then we would split them in half, because as it stands now, everybody's all done at the same time, according to our ordinance. So that means 7 out, 7 in. And on a 2-year term, trying to get, and you meet once a month, it's really tough to get everybody up to speed and rolling in 2 short years, that meeting once a month. So I think that is the meat of this. Does anybody have any questions or?
I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to come forward and comment on this item? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Linda Diol, 1439 9th Street, Livingston. I am currently the president of the Recreation and Art Committee. If you've noticed, even if you're not into sports, we're also building our art district. If you look around the town, we've implemented a whole bunch of the young artists with the different things that recommend our community as well. We also are building, we have 2 years I don't think is enough, because right now we have a really good team in there. We've lost few. We gained some great people. Right now we have a really great foundation where we're all striving for the same common denominator, to making the community great and to do as much as we can so every culture is acknowledged.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, this item is now closed to the public. Council, comments?
Yes, I got one. So they expired in June, correct?
Correct.
And so they will just be adding 2 more years to that.
Correct.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this changes the ordinance, so any future commissioners, recreation commissioners, the term will be 4 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Just want to make sure everybody understands that. So
4 years, but they'll be staggered, though.
yeah, of course, they'll be staggered. So tell me, why is it such a difficulty putting a letter says, I wish to continue every 2 years, or the way it is? Why is it a big problem for folks?
Well, our track record has been that when people have gone out, then we fight for a year just trying to recruit enough people that would like to do it. Now we have a bunch of folks that are eager and have had the taste of success, and they want to continue. So that's what we're hoping to do. And even if it was new people coming in, I'm sure you guys can understand that only being able to have a group of people for 2 years, if you have a long-term project coming up, whether it's through building a park or building a facility or raising funds for something, 2 years doesn't give you enough time to take the project from the conception to the groundbreaking. So.
All right, I was just making sure we get that on the record, so, okay, thank you. Council, any further comments?
Mayor, if I may, one of the also changes, as the staff report indicates, if the ordinance is approved, staff will be bringing back to council for consideration a resolution which will establish the term dates. One thing that we noticed as we were having these positions filled is that everybody's appointment date, there was 3 different dates. It wasn't, in your other commissions, you have maybe January 1st, you have January 31st, whatever date, but it's a standard date. Here, there wasn't any standardization. Your municipal code does indicate terms expire on January 31st of the end of the term. The staff will be bringing a resolution which will set the staggering of the positions of your commissioners with the exact dates. So therefore, you get everybody kind of expiring kind of at the same time in the different years. Makes it a little easier to manage as well.
Okay, thank you. Council, any comments? Anybody wish to make a motion?
I do have a question,
Yes.
Mr. Attorney,
To whom?
to our attorney.
Yes.
So there is a resolution on the back of this. The only thing it is not completely clear about is which of the 9 get which term. So if this is passed tonight, does that mean that we just move forward, making their terms an additional 4 years?
Yeah, hold on. The resolution is,
Is this,
I don't see there is no resolution attached at this
It's the
time.
ordinance.
That's the ordinance, not
It's
the
the ordinance.
resolution. I don't see so. Yeah. What- So you want to bring this back? You know what, I would feel.
It's not going to be adopted. It's going to still have the
Yeah.
same meeting, so we could come back at the second meeting.
I would feel more comfortable if we have the proposed resolution attached. So we'll just bring it up at the next meeting if it's okay with the council. Because I would like to see the resolution and see how the dates will be staggered. So, okay?
Yep, that works out.
So I need a
well,
motion.
it does say in our ordinance that everybody just continues until they're replaced,
Yeah.
so
So
it
we're
doesn't
okay
stop
f-
business.
Yeah, we're okay for now, but, let's just do it right. And I don't think anybody's having any problems with it. We just want to see the resolution. Well, then here's what I'll do. I'll call for a motion. Does anybody wish to make a motion to pass this item tonight?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
A second by Councilwoman Batista. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call, Councilmember Baptista,
Yes.
Councilmember King,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia,
Yes.
Mayor Samra.
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
Go ahead.
And Mayor, just to make a quick comment, I think that we could still bring back that resolution at your second reading of the ordinance, which would be at your next council meeting.
No, the only reason I was putting that item up is because there was a question about the resolution. If they don't have maybe they just wanted to make sure they see. That's the only reason I did that. I didn't ever have a problem with that. So, all right, moving on to item number 10. This is a resolution accepting the completion for the 1 million gallon tank rehabilitation project and authorizing city clerk to file the notice of completion. And I got I see Noe coming up. I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez. I keep calling you Noe. My apologies.
No worries. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. Noe Martinez from the Office of the City Engineer. Tonight, I'm here to present a fairly routine item. It's our completion of our water tank project rehab that we did over the summer, early this summer. And this is basically just a resolution that would accept the project as complete and then authorize the recording of the notice of completion with the with Merced County, and then subsequently releasing the retention monies kept for this project for assurance of completion. And the staff report goes into some detail, but just to note that the project pretty much came in under budget, and want to thank the Public Works Department for helping out big time on this project and getting it completed, and shout out to our Public Works Director. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
This item is now open to the public. Does anybody wish to discuss this item? If not, it is now closed to the public. Council, any comments or suggestions or motions? This is the completion that we're saying that is done. You said it came under budget?
Within budget, I said.
Oh, within I'm sorry, government under budget. What was I thinking? Okay, council, if any discussion, if not, I will entertain a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, are you, go ahead.
The resolution accepting the completion of the 1 million gallon tank rehabilitation project, authorizing the city deputy clerk to file a notice of the completion with Merced County, and authorizing the city manager to make final payment of retention monies to the Unified Field Service Corporation.
I have a motion by Councilmember Baptista. Do I have a second?
Yes, I'll second it.
Second by Councilmember King. May I have roll call, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Baptista?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
I just wanted just a quick comment on this particular project. I want to thank all of the residents in that neighborhood where this tank actually was rehabilitated, because there was quite a bit of noise for a while there, and so we appreciate their patience and their assistance in on this particular project. Thank you.
I'm sure they're enjoying cleaner water right now too, so. Okay, this is the next item. This is a resolution of the City Council, the City of Livingston approving the 3-year contract with F&M Bank for banking services, and I see Mr. Grant up there smiling and telling us why. Mr. Grant?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, members of the public, and those that are watching or will be watching this on television. The item that you have before you is to consider a 3-year contract with F&M Bank for banking services. Let's just have a little background on this first before we kind of dive into it. And what we've got to remind ourselves is that state and local governments, first of all, use a wide variety of banking services for deposits, disbursements, and safekeeping of public funds. And prudent procurement practices require the reevaluation of these banking services on a periodic basis. In addition, continual changes in technology, treasury management practices, and banking industry structure offer public fund managers opportunities to reevaluate banking services and costs. The Government Finance Officers Association, or the acronym GFOA, which was founded in 1906 and which represents public finance officials throughout the United States and Canada, has more than 20,000 members, which belong to and work for federal, state, provincial, and local finance departments, who are deeply involved in planning, financing, and implementing thousands of governmental operations in each of their jurisdictions. And GFOA's mission is to advance excellence in public finance. GFOA, of which the City of Livingston is a member and has been a member for many years, provides best practice recommendations. And in this regard, GFOA recommends that governments review their financial service contracts every 5 years and use a competitive process for the procurement of financial services. The current provider of banking services is West America Bank. West America Bank acquired the City of Livingston's accounts not through a competitive process, but rather through the acquisition of County Bank's operations from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation on February 6, 2009. And although it's not mentioned in the report, prior to County Bank, it was Bank of America, and County Bank took over Bank of America's accounts. So because of GFOA's best practices recommendation, the amount of time the city's financial services have been provided by West America Bank, and because West America Bank obtained the city's accounts through an acquisition and not a competitive procurement, staff just felt it was a good idea and appropriate to go out with a request for proposal for financial services. So an RFP was posted on the website, and 4 banks responded: Chase, F&M Bank, Tri-Counties Bank, and West America Bank. The city manager, myself as the interim finance director, our executive assistant, deputy city clerk, and senior accountant were involved in one or several interviews with the proposers. The criteria that were looked at to evaluate the proposers were, first of all, the conformity to the RFP specifications, responsiveness to the RFP, comprehensiveness of services provided, related experience, account analysis, their plan for conversion from the existing accounts to new accounts, charges for services, service enhancements, and other factors. Upon completion of the interviews and applying the evaluation criteria, staff recommends a contract for banking services be awarded to F&M Bank. F&M Bank has provided financial services to individuals, families, and businesses in California since 1916. They're locally owned and operated. F&M Bank is headquartered in Lodi, California. F&M Bank is the primary operating subsidiary of Farmers and Merchant Bank Corp. With over $3 billion in assets. Costs for these banking services are planned to be offset by earnings on compensating balances. We do have representatives in the audience this evening from F&M Bank, and I believe we also have representatives from West America Bank. So if there are any questions, everyone's here to answer whatever you might want to ask.
Okay, thank you. What I'm going to do is, because there is a recommendation here, but I also feel that we should allow others to voice their opinion. And so what I'm going to do is, whoever likes to go first, well, let me just pick. We'll let West America go first to state why this is not a good deal, what we should not do it. So West America, if you'd like to make comment, please come forward. And please state the name for the record. Come forward, please, if you wish.
Mr. Mayor, council members, staff, first I want to extend our appreciation for the opportunity to work with staff during the bidding process. I felt that it was a fair and thorough process. While not always agreeing with all of the decisions that were made about what to include in the evaluation, we were given a chance to express those concerns. I would like to give you just a bit of background without getting into too much history here. We've had a relationship through different entities now with the city for over 30 years. West America Bank did acquire the relationship through an acquisition of County Bank during the Great Recession. County Bank got in financial trouble, and West America, being one of the strongest banks, not only in the state of California, but in the country, was asked by the federal government to step in and bid as a local bank to take control over another local institution that was failing. None of our competitors in this bidding process today stepped up and did that during the recession. We have prided ourselves over the years of being a very conservative institution that sustains us for citizens who need to borrow long-term. What I'd like to do is I'd like to have two of our local staff members that you know introduce themselves. Julie, can you stand?
Can you please?
Julie, you want to?
We need to get you on record.
Come on. Yeah, just come over and introduce yourself real quick. Just right here, introduce yourself. Just your name and your position. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Oh, sorry. I'm Julie Sickinger, the branch manager here in Livingston.
Charlie.
I'm Sukraj Singh. I'm the BSO here, but everybody knows me as Charlie. So, yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for your service, not only to the citizens of Livingston, but to the bank as well. So thank you both very much. There's a difference between us and our competitors. We've made an investment in the city of Livingston. No one else has done that. We came forward and bought an institution that was in financial trouble. No one else has done that. We have continued to provide banking services when no other financial institution is willing to make that investment. At the last I checked, there are no applications as of right now from any other financial institution to come to Livingston. So without West America Bank, the citizens of Livingston would not have banking services. No numbers were thrown at us tonight. I don't know if Brad is planning on getting into numbers with you about the differences in the competitive bids, and I have to assume that there were some financial reasons and not just services reasons, because we were not indicated that there were any deficiency in services. Is that correct, Jose? Okay. So there must be a financial implication behind this that hasn't been disclosed yet, but I want to throw some numbers at you. The number that comes to mind is $350,000. $350,000 is the personnel expense annually at the branch across the street. Over this contract period that you're endeavoring to go into with F&M, that amounts to over $1 million in investment that West America is making in local citizens working here locally. And I know the council is concerned, I know the mayor's concerned about local jobs. It's important to keep local jobs. You can only do that if you keep your money local, so that there's a reason to stay in town. It's been our privilege to provide local career opportunities, pay local taxes, provide services to citizens of Livingston, as well as help the businesses grow. And the financing we do for the businesses through operating lines, through term loans, help those businesses grow. What you may not understand is that your deposits of tax dollars get reinvested in your community when you bank locally. We're the only bank with the ability to do that because we're the only local bank. Moving those funds will mean less of an opportunity for businesses and employees, for that matter, to advance their career, to make investments in Livingston. I think when you're looking for an apples-to-apples comparison, you don't have it here in this RFP, and we were disappointed that these elements were never added to the RFP, at least not in the discussions with us. And so we have tried repeatedly to point these things out. The competitive bidding process is something we applaud and something we encouraged. We think that that's smart for the citizens. There should have been a bidding process all along. When we were County Bank, we came out repeatedly. I was with County for 10 years before I went to West America for the last decade. We came out and we cut rates and we did things to keep this a competitive arrangement. We've done the same thing as West America. So far, we've had no complaints about the cost of services, but clearly there was a need and a responsibility by council to go out to RFP, and we applaud that. But we ask that you consider all factors, not just maybe an interest rate here or there or a fee here or there, but rather the entire contribution we make to this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
And council has any questions for you?
Yeah, just one moment. Does council have any questions? I like to, first of all, I want to thank West America for their service to the city. I really appreciate it. We've been with that local branch when it was Bank of America, became County, and West America.
Yeah.
And we're appreciative of having a local branch nearby. Now, when you said outside, I understand the jobs, and I'm all for local jobs.
Right.
Outside of those jobs, and I know that you do, one of the services lacking in Livingston is mortgage loans. Now, does West America do home mortgage loans? Do they do commercial loans here?
Right. It's a great question. We do mortgage lending for commercial real estate and for agriculture. We don't do home lending, but we have relationship with lenders where we can facilitate our customers' requests, and we work with local agents at no income to the bank, no fee to the bank, and no increased rates to citizens to provide them with mortgage lending. But we are not a direct mortgage lender, no. That's a decision we made after the recession.
So does West America not do mortgage anywhere or just?
Anywhere.
That's not.
It's not one of the departments we have. After the regulatory changes, after the Great Recession, there were a number of changes from a regulatory standpoint, and the bank made the decision at that point to step away from direct mortgage lending and facilitate it through referrals to brokers rather than putting it on our books. And essentially what other banks are doing that do residential lending, you can have a commercial bank stand here and tell you, we do residential lending. What everybody is doing is they're packaging those loans and they're selling them on the secondary market. So they're no longer, the old days of us having portfolios full of residential real estate doesn't exist in the industry anymore. It's kind of a dying breed.
What other investments does West America do in Livingston?
What other investments?
CRA?
Yeah, absolutely. CRA lending. Matter of fact, I provided, and I'm sorry I didn't bring that with me tonight, I provided CRA numbers to staff that was part of the RFP. We make a tremendous contribution through our CRA lending efforts. We're evaluated every 2 years on those CRA outreach. We meet all federal guidelines for that, as well as hours donated. Part of our CRA outreach is financial education, and the folks you met tonight, along with other staff members, go out into the community. They're at the junior high and at the high schools doing financial literacy training. All of that's made possible by the relationship of the city and the citizens.
So let me get this straight. West America does CRA investments in Livingston?
Absolutely.
For sure?
Absolutely.
We can get some documentation on that, on what's been the investments?
I can, yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll just look forward to it because I wasn't aware of that.
Okay. Yeah. Matter of fact, I would venture to say most commercial loans that we do fall into small business, small ag lending, CRA qualified loans. That is the vast majority of the lending that we do as an institution.
Okay.
Okay.
Council, any other?
Okay.
Okay, you say about local jobs. How many of your employees here across the street are local?
I know.
Meaning how many of them live in Livingston?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't survey them. I don't know how many of them live in Livingston. We have 9 employees over there right now. Julie may know off the top of her head, you know, when you have teller staff and others that tend to be kind of introductory jobs, a lot of times they will start and they will move on. But Julie, do you know? Okay, so 4 in Livingston, a couple in Atwater. Okay.
Yeah. So the questions I'm asking you, I'm going to ask everybody because, you know, so how about, do you do CRA grants in Livingston, or do you do any type of donations? What do you do?
Right.
How do you, I get it. I think there is, if I remember correctly, at the branch, there are a couple of people that live in Livingston, and we're grateful. Don't worry, don't get me wrong, okay? We are very grateful.
Good.
But we also need a interacting local bank, too, that fits the community, because the community is in dire need of loans and mortgage loans and investments and donations, because, you know, you're one of the financial institutions, well, the only financial institution at this time, you know.
Right.
So can you tell us how much in CRA grants or
Yeah, the CRA
or
donations were
to the
also, the CRA donation question was a part of the RFP that I didn't bring the numbers with, but I can, and I will provide that number to you. We have a philosophy as an institution. Our corporate philosophy is that we give to the most needy in the community. So our primary outreach is for housing and feeding the needy. And so that is where the bulk of our money goes to. There are certainly other very worthwhile causes that happen throughout the community, but the bulk of our donations will go there and to education.
I mean, I'm not going to hold you to, can you guess the amount that was locally donated or invested in the CRA or any type of
Brandon,
donation?
do you remember off the top of your head? Do you have, Brad, do you have the number?
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what?
I'm sorry.
What
I would hate to quote me off.
What we'll do is,
Yeah.
you got my questions. I'll be looking forward to some sort of a letter of reply for my questions.
Absolutely.
I understand that I didn't see all the paperwork. I saw the recommendation.
Okay.
But whatever questions I asked you, I'm going to ask the others as well. So
Absolutely.
fair is fair, so I'm not trying to be beating up on anybody, you know.
No, that's fine.
So, okay, I will look forward to the responses to my questions. So, council, does anybody else have any questions?
Thank you all for your time.
Okay. Does anybody else from the banking institution that would like to come forward at this time?
Good evening, council members, city manager, city attorney. My name is Jay Colombini, and I'm with F&M Bank, which is short for Farmers and Merchants Bank. As they said, Farmers and Merchants Bank is headquartered in Lodi. We've been here in this valley since we started in 1916. It was started by a group of farmers and a group of businessmen. One of our claim to fame is we are the largest community ag bank west of the Rockies and the 15th largest agricultural bank in the country. Now, if you think about that, that doesn't sound very impressive. However, our territory for a bank only goes from Merced County all the way up through Sacramento County. We have 4 counties, and we're the 15th largest agricultural bank in the country. Why is that important? Why is that important to you in the city of Livingston? Well, agriculture obviously is our biggest industry here in this valley. Your largest employers here in Livingston are agricultural based. Obviously, all the farmers are agricultural based as well. We understand that industry, and this is what our bread and butter is: serving small communities within this valley. A lot of our branches, we are the only bank or one of 2 banks in some small towns that we serve, many smaller towns in Livingston. Let's talk about, I'll skip to mortgage loans. We still make mortgage loans and we don't sell them off. We portfolio them like the old-fashioned way. During the recession, because we didn't sell off our mortgages, we had very few foreclosures. We have over $250 million in home mortgages. We had very few foreclosures. And the reason why that is because we didn't sell off the paper. We didn't have most mortgages, bits and pieces of each mortgage were sold off, which is what created problems in the mortgage industry. So when somebody couldn't make their payments or the value of their house dropped, they would have to have several people, if not hundreds of people, sign off on that mortgage to write it down. We held them, and we were able to keep people in their homes because it's very disruptive when a foreclosure goes through. Because we hold our mortgages, we could underwrite the way we want to. One of the things we found in the valley is it's difficult for people, particular people that are living outside of the city limits that might be on 10 or 20 acres of ground. Hard for them to get a mortgage, and so we've adjusted all of our mortgage standards to meet the needs of not only in small communities but also in the rural residential areas outside of the cities, which many of them are shop within the city limits. You asked about donations and what we do, how we're involved with the Community Reinvestment Act. We're one of less than 4% banks in the country that not only get the highest safety and soundness ratings, but get an outstanding rating in community reinvestment. We just went through an audit here just a couple months ago for for community reinvestment, which we have one every 3 years. And we've always received an outstanding rating in community reinvestment. We've donated, just in the last year, we calculated out, we donated $46,000 to various nonprofits within Merced County here. You talk about how we can serve the city. One of our customers here within the city of Livingston is Livingston Health Services. And, pardon me? Livingston Community Health Services, yes. And we've made some donations through them, and they provide a valuable service to the community here. So another organization we donate a lot to, more than any other bank, is United Way of Merced County. No other bank provides service more in donations than Farmers and Merchants Bank does. We just became the bank of the Housing Authority of Merced County, which provides another valuable services to all of the citizens of Merced County. We're here to help Merced County prosper and grow, and that's one of the reasons why we've bid on the deposits and the banking services of the city of Livingston. So, I can't comment on, back what happened 10 years ago when County Bank failed. I don't know what happened as far as if the FDIC allowed other banks to bid on that process. That I'm not privileged to. Sometimes what happens is the FDIC will go into one or two banks and ask them to take over. I can't
we don't expect that. And I remember the day the feds came in at the end of the business day and says, "County Bank, you're done."
Yeah.
And it was handed over. I remember when the federal folks came in and took over the branch, literally.
Right, yeah.
I remember those days. So it was a tough thing. But now.
And I just want to say we've had branches in Merced County since 1985.
Okay, I know that you have some, but if selected, would you open a branch in Livingston?
I've had this conversation with your city manager, and our CEO, Kent Steiner, and I have discussed this in detail, and we'd be very much interested in opening up a banking office here in Livingston.
Okay, all right, thank you. And so that's to me, and I'm going to let everybody speak, and I think I spoke enough already, but, and thanks for clearing up the acronym CRA. We got enough bankers. I didn't think I had to do that. But
yeah.
There were some audience there now, so community reinvestment. I thank you very much for that. So,
are there any other questions? I don't know if anybody else had any questions.
No, to me, it's important that whoever we bank with, that they're local, that somebody, because I don't want, to me, and a lot of these electronic transfers, but right now I see our folks walk across the street with their daily intake from bills, whatever it is, and they go make a deposit. But if you're not here, now where are they going to drive to, Merced or Turlock? So that's a cost too. Mm-hmm. So that I got to take that into consideration too.
Sure. Our proposal included
pickup, probably.
Pickup,
yeah, I get
and
it.
all of that in there.
Yeah,
so
I get it.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the same questions that I asked him, I'll make sure that both of you folks get a letter out, because I do want some clarification. I do acknowledge and appreciate the long-term investment from the West America Bank to be here. Over the years, I've seen folks come and go, and they do, and a lot of them from Livingston, some are from, but it's nice to know that there's somebody you can talk to. I don't want to do online banking. I do enough already because, but that's not how I see banking.
Right, understood.
So we need to know if you would make a commitment, if selected, that you would open a local branch. Mm-hmm. So we need to, I know it's not in here, but I like to have that if selected, I'm going to ask that we table this to see if all those answers, the questions I've had, and I'm gonna let others ask those questions too, to give everybody a chance to respond, because I trust and, and our staff, but staff is analytical, they do numbers. We're elected to see how this impacts the community at a personal level. So I think it's important for us.
Agreed.
So I'm gonna quiet down and I'm gonna ask council if they have any other questions. Council, does anybody wish to ask any questions? I know I've done a lot of talking. I covered them all. Huh? Hold on a second. Okay, we probably go. So now that council doesn't, this item still hasn't been open to the public at large. So this item is now open to the public. Does anybody from the public wish to comment? I don't see anybody moving forward. Then we will close it. Council, I like to request answers to my questions before we make the decision. I know that staff has done its job. Now I think I'd like to get those answers. So I'd like to make the motion that we table this to just quickly from both folks that spoke. How long would it take for you to give us our answers? Will you be able to do the same? With the questions, I will make sure that both of you get a letter, and also I would be looking forward to some sort of a commitment that if selected, you will open a local branch. So with that questions, I'd like to make the motion to continue this item to the second meeting in August, just in case there's a little back and forth. So I have a motion to continue this to the second meeting in August. Does anybody wish to second?
I'll motion. Or you're motioning?
Yeah, I'll make a
Okay,
motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by the mayor and second by Mayor Pro Tem. May I have roll call to continue this item to the second meeting in August, please?
Roll call. Councilmember Bautista?
Yes.
Councilmember King?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Yes.
Mayor Samra?
Yes.
Motion approved by a vote of 4 out of 0.
Oh, we're still in, and since the last item was tabled, council, any further business? If not, we are in adjournment.